Good evening and welcome to Simsport Racing International GT3 Championship Season 4. We are here at Watkins Glen with our Tier 2 drivers of Silver and Am heading into round 5. So starting on the downward track to the end of the championship. We've got a 75-minute race for you this evening, and if free practice is anything to go by, this is going to be quite an interesting race. So I am Sam Pierce, SSRI ambassador, and joining me in both the comms box and on cameras is the lovely Chris Hill. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Sam. Are you well?
I am doing very well, yes. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Looking forward to this race, trying to multitask and messing everything up at the same time. So please excuse me.
You will do an excellent job, as always. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is our Tier 2 round. So our Tier 1s will be taking on the Glen next week on November 7th. But let's have a look at how the championship is panning out at the minute. So as I said, this is coming into round 5. So we're over halfway through the championship so far. And in silver, we have Timo Zidek up at the top of the board with 77 points. Sebastian Renal, really close behind, only 2 points back. He is definitely going to be one to watch this evening. He topped the timing boards in free practice just before we went live, and he's got some absolutely fantastic pace. So really good to see how he's going to play tonight. And then sitting in P3, we've got Erigius Parties, who is about 9 points back. Now, this is before we've taken into account the drop round. So this is where it's going to start getting interesting. They're definitely starting to get some interesting results. Currently in those top 3 drivers, everybody has done every single round. So the drop points are definitely going to make a really big difference because people are actually going to be losing points for drop rounds. So let's head over to the AM class, and this is where it gets really exciting. We have a 3-way tie at the top of the AM class leaderboard between Aaron van Linden, Frank Hopp, and Radar Vince, all tied on 72 points after penalties. So this is going to be really interesting. And again, when we start taking into account those drop rounds, all 3 of those drivers have attended every single race. So again, these guys will be losing points when those drop rounds start to take effect. But really tight battle up at then the top of that leaderboard, but then quite a considerable gap down to P4 that is currently held by Cohen Greens, who's about 11 points back. So that's how the championship is standing at the minute. As I said, Andy King and Sebastian Renal putting in some amazing lap times, both in free practice during the week and our practice session just before we went live, both getting into the 43s, which at Watkins Glen is very good. Our top AM during the week was Steve Parker, currently sitting in P5 in the championship. So definitely in really good contention to potentially earn some decent points. So Chris, what are you best looking forward to with our Watkins Glen race tonight?
I told you not to ask me any questions tonight, Sam. Were you not paying attention in the briefing?
Well, it's kind of the point of commentary that we actually talk to each other.
Oh, yes. I keep forgetting that minor detail.
I know.
What am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to a good battle up at the front. As you say, Andy King and Sebastian Renal setting blistering lap times, and it's I suspect it may be between those two, but also the amateur class. I really like following the tier 2, particularly because there is that bit of competitive, and the AM class certainly does throw out that competitivity. There's a word you've never heard of before.
That's probably because I don't think it's in the dictionary.
Well, there you go. My claim to fame, I've added a word to the dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, then the fact that we've got a three-way tie in AM class, and it seems to be then the case quite often in our AM classes. They are very, very hotly contested. Points are always really, really close. You know, more often than not, certainly in the seasons that I've been commentating with SSRI and also racing in this championship a couple of seasons ago, it was all decided on then how that drop round and affected drivers. So really, really great to see that everything is just so tight, so competitive, especially at then the top of that AM class. For me, I'm really looking forward to seeing how everybody does and at this track in general. Watkins Glen, even though it's one of the newer tracks to the ACC platform, it has definitely found a home in a lot of drivers' hearts. A lot of drivers really, really love this track. It's a great track to drive. It's really, really flowing. It just, you know, seamlessly works together. It doesn't feel, you know, bitty like a lot of tracks do, but it's still challenging. And you know, the chicane of the inner loop at the end of the back straight, you've got to be brave in order to get through that. Take as much you know, liberty with the curves as you dare. Same with the final corner, turn 11, coming onto the main straight. You've got to really, really hug that wall, and, you know, pray that you don't lose any paint to try and get through it quickly. So let's take a look at a lap of Watkins Glen from the helicam. So as we come out of that turn 11 onto the main straight, you see then the old school NASCAR pits on the right hand side as we come into the turn 1 called the 90. It can take quite a lot of liberty with this outside track limit. As long as you're keeping at least one tire on that yellow and red, it's valid. And then you head uphill into this really, really nice winding S's section that just flows so nicely. Very deceptive as to how much elevation change there is here. It is quite a steep climb, so heavy cars do tend to struggle a little bit. As we come off of turn 4 into the back straight, we come into the inner loop. Now, these are not actually numbered corners, but you've got to be really, really brave, taking as much curve as you possibly can. Try and maintain as much speed as you come through the outer loop of turn 5. Heading into the new section of the track, which was only introduced a couple of years ago, into the section called the boot. So we come round turn 6 of the chute. Small straight heading into a 180 hairpin that also has a very, very steep incline as well. So even though it's a 180 turn, you can get on the power nice and early and come up out of turn 7 into turn 8. Then the heel into a really, really sharp, pretty much 90 degree, heading back down into turn 9 where you rejoin the old part of the track, and then a short little squirt into turn 10, which is a really nice fast flowing left-hander into the heavy braking zone for turn 11. It's very, very difficult to find a braking point here, and you will have cars that are braking a lot earlier than others if they're going to be coming into the pits. And with that left-hander at turn 11, you need to get as close to the wall as possible to try and get a good lap. So really nice flowing track, really nice to drive, really fun to drive, but still requires a fair amount of skill and a fair amount of cojones as well. So I believe we are into qualifying. A lot of our top drivers have already put in 3 or 4 laps, and as I was saying just before we came into qualifying, Sebastian Reno and Andy King both putting in some fantastic laps right out of the gate. Not quite into the 43s yet. We've got Andy King on 44.0. Sebastian Reno currently in P2 with a 144.3. Real life lap record here, interesting enough, is a 144.2. Again, this is one of those tracks where sim times do seem to be a little bit quicker than real life, and a lot of it, I think, is down to that bravery level of just how close drivers in real life are willing to get to that wall coming out of turn 11, how brave they are going into the loop, and how much curb they're willing to take. Whereas in sim racing, it's not quite as painful if you miss a corner, if you hit a wall. So people do tend to be just that little bit braver, and I think that's the reason why we start to see some of these lap times that are a little bit faster than real life. So we just jump on board with Frank Hopp. Once again, clearly a head and shoulders above the rest of the AM class. Interestingly, Frank did quite well during free practice during the midweek. Not quite as quick as Steve Parker, but still quite up there. And and as we've seen throughout the season, definitely grinding away on those laps. He put in 92 practice laps in the free practice period since the last race out at Misano. So been putting in consistently strong lap times. So we're just on board with Steve Parker, currently sitting in P13 with a 145.2. I would expect then this lap time to start to come down. He did manage a 144.5 during the midweek, as we see him jump all the way up into P10 with a 145.1. I've just noticed that Roger van der Weert has not left the pits yet, and has not set a time either. Starting to cut things in a little bit close. We've got just under 8 minutes in qualifying, so it's enough time for him to get some laps in, but he does need to be thinking about leaving the pits quite shortly if he's going to get up to pace. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that and see if he potentially has any issue, or is just intentionally starting from the back. We head back up to Andy King, who is currently 0.1 up on his best time, so it is going to get him into the 43s if he keeps this advantage. And he's just grown that advantage up to 0.3 as well, just as he's coming into the uphill section. Coming out of the new part of the track, just coming up to turn 9.
Tell you what is interesting, sorry Sam to interrupt you.
Alright.
As soon as Andy King's finished this lap, I'm just flicking to Rhino, because he's half a second up.
Wow, that's a considerable improvement if he can hang on to that advantage. That will clearly put him considerably ahead of Andy. Andy has broken into the 43s just with a 143.9, But if Sebastian keeps this, then that will put him a
There you
good
go.
2/10 ahead of Andy in P1. Still 6 minutes left, so and Andy King is still out on track. So be great to see these two battle it out, and they are head and shoulders over the rest of the pack. P3, Jonas Planis, still 0.6 behind. As we jump on board with the very, very brightly liveried Lamborghini of Mick Schelikens, currently sitting in P11, but is 0.3 up on his current time of a 1:45.1. So this will put him, could potentially bring him up to P7, P8, so somewhere around there if he holds on to the advantage that he's currently got.
We'll know shortly.
Yeah, he's just coming out of the new section out of turn 11. Doesn't quite get too close to the wall, but yeah, jumps up to a very respectful P7.
Well called there, son. Well called.
You would think that I have actual timing boards in front of me to be able to work it out.
I know, yeah. It's amazing.
I'm just glad that my on-the-fly maths is actually starting to get half decent. Normally, I completely just don't get those on-the-fly calculations even remotely right.
Dennis Meader here is 0.5 up as well on his time. Well, will that put Dennis quite well up?
That will put him
third.
at considerable, yeah, third, fourth, somewhere around there. So yeah, then that would be a
Frank
excellent result. Yep, so Frank showing really, really good in awareness, seeing Dennis coming up behind him on a hot lap, so, and that has not affected Dennis's time at all, still 0.5, actually 0.6 up now. So this could be a blinding lap from Dennis.
Third.
Crosses the line up to P3, fantastic.
Oh, I spoilt it for everybody then, didn't I, by shouting it out, sorry.
So, Router has now left the pit. 3 minutes remaining. So 3 minutes to put in to put in a time. He's just on his out lap at a minute.
He doesn't strike me as a one-lap wonder.
No. So then this is interesting. So. Yeah, I don't know if maybe he's been having some problems, maybe just struggling to find a half-decent setup, maybe?
Finishing his tee, perhaps?
Finishing his tee, possibly, yeah, who knows? I don't think so, but, yeah.
Oh no, I've just seen a message, Andy King in the Discord, says his PC's just died on him.
Oh no!
And that's shown by the fact he's no longer appearing on the leaderboard.
I did see the leaderboard shift, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, hang on a minute, I could have swore we had 19 in the server, and now only 18. Oh, so gutting. So
Come on,
hopefully if Andy can get his PC restarted, he may have time to rejoin. He'll be starting from the back, but
will he?
yeah,
Or does it remember?
I don't know. I think because he's left the server and I don't know actually.
This is going to be an interesting test. Come on, Andy, get your PC fixed.
Yeah, I think if he makes it back in before qualifying is finished, then I think yes, it might remember his time. But I think if it clicks over into the race and he joins sort of in the when everybody's sat in the grid or in the formation lap, I think it will put him at the back. That's my understanding. I may be wrong. Anybody in YouTube, please do correct me if you've had this situation happen and know from experience what would actually happen in this instant. Would be useful to know. But all of the top guys in the pits. So Sebastian Reno on that 43.7. So pretty much exactly what he did in free practice just before qualifying, and a tenth quicker than what he managed during the week as well on the practice server. So Sebastian Reno still continuing to improve. So just on board with Wouter Bilsma, currently sitting in P6 and 0.1 of a second up on his time.
Not many people setting time still.
Yeah, not too many out on track. Right, Sim Racing has come into the YouTube chat confirming that it does believe that if you do rejoin after quali finishes, that you will be put at the back, and it does remember the time if you connect before the session ends. Thank you very much for confirming that for me, Sim Racing.
I wonder who that is.
Is that? I think that is Sam. That is Sam, isn't it?
It is, yes.
But before I put my foot in it, it is Sam.
It
Right. So thank you very much, Sam.
It wasn't a trick question for a change.
Oh, you never know. So Franz van der Linden looks to be the last to cross the finish line, just coming out of turn 11. He's currently 10th at the minute. Is he going to improve? I don't think he is. No, stays P10.
Wouter's the last.
Wouter is still out, but is showing as not improving on his time. And yeah, not looking like he's taking qualifying very seriously there as he clatters the pit lane wall just after passing the pit lane. So, just passing the start-finish line, I should say. So, in interesting qualifying, the main thing for me, Frank Hopp not quite as far up the board as we have seen in past races, so that's kind of interesting, but still considerably ahead of the rest of the AM pack. So I think he's definitely on for some good points. And Steve Parker taking P2 in AM class, and Steve is currently tied for P5 with Peter Brockland, who is here then this evening. I was just checking, coming through in P15. So definitely some possibilities for people breaking ties at the minute. Just looking, Aaron van der Linden coming in P17, and Wouter Vince down in P16. So Frank Hopp, if he continues to keep that level of pace difference, he's definitely going to break that three-way tie coming out of the end of this race. So definitely one to watch during the races to see whether Wouter Vince and Arden van der Linden do improve on their qualifying time to give Frank Hopp a bit of a run for that P1 position in the AM Class Championship. Timo Zidek, I don't think... Oh no, Timo is here then this evening, coming in P5. So with Sebastian Reno qualifying ahead of Timo, that's then another potential place change that could change by the end of the race. And Arigius Parties in the YouTube chat, and I believe not in the race this evening. So yeah, definitely some allowance for championship places to change on the back of how things change here. So, should we go through the starting grid?
You can do shortly when I get the camera there.
Okay.
Don't rush me. You know I get nervous now.
I know. I'm struggle to waffle too much further, but yeah. Nico in the YouTube chat saying that a 43.7 definitely very, very impressive for the lap times here around the Glen, and especially considering this is our T2 tier 2 split then this evening. I'm even more interested to see what the lap times are going to be when our tier 1 pro guys take to Watkins Glen next week. I'm thinking that then we might get into the low 43s. Just gonna throw that out there as a potential. Any pro guys who are by watching, getting some tips, and I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Then let's see if anyone can get below a, should we say 43.5? Let's see if anyone can break that, and make me eat my words on next week's stream. Have we got our starting grid yet, Chris?
No!
Running out of things to talk about.
I know, I'll be there in a second, honest.
Okay. I'm doing my best.
Hashtag me too.
Right. So while we are waiting for our starting grid, YouTube, give me your predictions. Who do you think is going to win pro, and who is going to win silver, and who is going to win AM this evening? And put your money where your mouth is, and let us know what you think.
I think Andy King's managed to join, by the way, but he is right down showing dead last.
Yes.
Although he did briefly join while qualifying was still on, and he was showing in second place then.
Okay, so confirmation that my waffle off the top of my head of not experiencing this situation was actually accurate. Woohoo!
Well done you, Sam.
Yay! I can blag it with the best of them. So fingers crossed that Andy King's PC remains stable for the race, but he's definitely going to have some work cut out for him. Yay! We have a starting grid. Right. Up at the top row, Sebastian Reno, gifted with P1. Dennis Meter lining up alongside in the other Mercedes in P2. On row 2, we've got Pascal Vida alongside Jonas Planis. Then in P5, we've got Timo Zedek alongside Wouter Wilsma. P7, we've got Aaron van Drunen alongside the brightly liveried Mick Schellekens. Then our M-Class leader, Frank Hopp, lines up alongside Frans van der Linden. Then we've got Alexander Delors in P11, lining up alongside Steve Parker in P12. Cohen Greens takes P13 with Jesse Van Driel lining up alongside. Then we've got Peter Brockland and Wouter Vince. Then Aaron van der Linden alongside Wouter van der Wart. And coming up on the back of the grid, Andy King thankfully being able to rejoin the server, starting from the back row. Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on to see how far up the order he can make it by the end of the race. So, track conditions looking absolutely perfect for autumn in New York State. Track conditions are optimum. Still air temperature of 22, track temperature of 29, and no wind. So, this is going to be a fantastic race. It is going to be 75 minutes, and the pit strategy is definitely going to come into consideration for this particular race. There is a mandatory stop, but that is for fuel only. So drivers do not have to change tires if they do not want to. This track does tend to be very good on tire wear if you manage to keep the traction control at bay and just minimize wheel spin, especially through the chicane at the inner loop, and also coming out of the fast right-hander of turn 11 onto the back straight. So as long as you can keep wheel spin to a minimum, there is a good chance that you will be able to make a set of tires last. And I am noticing Dennis Meter, Be a Machine Racing, sat in the pits. So I'm guessing he didn't click drive in time. Maybe some last minute tweaks to setup that he didn't get done completely. So he will not only be starting at the back, but he will also be starting from the pit lane. So he will have to wait for Andy King to pass the pit exit line before he is released. So he's going to be a considerable way back, and he's going to have lots and lots of work to do in that 25 Mercedes.
Which Formula 1 team started from the pit lane at Mexico? I'm just wondering if people are starting to follow suit. We've seen Wouter van der Weert trying to do a one lap qualifying, and now we're seeing people starting from the pits. All we need now is Checo to be hit at the first corner. Sorry, wrong way around. Hit somebody at the first corner.
Now.
Oh, I'm factually correct for a change.
I shall have to take your word for it.
I hope I'm sporty for you.
No, I've kind of gone off Formula One a little bit. I know that's over here. Is Sebastian Renal also having connection issues? Because he is now showing further back down than the order. That was very, very unusual. So I'm hoping that this is just a glitch with Sebastian, and I'm hoping that we're not having server issues. Fingers crossed. Everyone does look like they have gotten themselves back into position. And are lined up coming towards the start-finish line, and we are green. And despite that glitch, Sebastian Reynolds made a fantastic start. Caught everybody napping.
Yeah, it was peculiar that.
That was very good. I'm also not seeing any gaps either.
It might have been my PCs.
Okay, right. My timing board has now caught up. Kind of. My timing screen is now going a little skits. Okay, we're back. So Sebastian Renal managing to hang on to that P1 position. Currently 0.4 of a second ahead of Pascal Vida. Yeah, it looks like Daniel Meter has, Dennis Meter has come through come out of the pits.
I noticed in YouTube we're being told to stop cursing everybody.
Yeah. The reason why I'm pausing, I'm seeing car 14, Aaron van der Linden, considerable way back as well. So I'm wondering if there's been a little bit of a coming together at some point during the start.
There was a yellow flag showing briefly.
And I'm also seeing car 19, who is Jesse Van Driel, also a considerable way back from the order as well. But Andy King making a fantastic inroads on that opening first lap, currently all the way up to P14. So being able to make some great headway on the opening start, and that is not a place that you want to go side by side into the inner loop. As we see, it was one of the Lamborghinis, Alexander Delore, possibly catching the sausage curve that is just on the inside of that last corner coming out of the loop. Very, very common accident to see from somebody taking just a little bit too much of that curve. It ends up just completely spitting your car out, and you head in an absolute straight line, beelining for that inner wall. So he is going to be carrying a lot of damage.
I think it's one of those races, Sam, where we struggle to catch all the action.
Keep up with everything. Yeah, it is. Yeah, when not really knowing where to look yet. Delore now right at then the bottom, but then the good news is that he can. We are not running a pit window, so he can get his pit stop out of the way, and if he keeps everything nice and clean, can complete the rest of the race.
King up to 12th now.
Yeah, he is definitely man on a mission. Yep, just coming on to the back of Cohen Greens. This is a three-way battle for P10. Just ahead of Cohen Greens is McShellikins. And the three of them split by 0.5 of a second. They're also coming up on the back of Steve Parker as well.
I don't know where to look.
No, there's just so much going on. Looks like McShellikins has just been pushed a little bit wide. And he's had to come off of the back of that of that pack as Andy King, brave as you like on the brakes. Beautiful job getting in, and then the move made there cleanly coming out of turn 8 there.
Where's that boy? 210?
Yes, that does put him up into P10, because I believe that was Steve Parker that he just overtook on brakes. So we had a little bit up into further up the field. This is a battle with Timo Zidek.
I think it's Juan Planas.
Yep, that is on the back of Johan Planas and Frans van der Linden, bringing up the rear of this little three-way battle as well. So this is overall for P3. So the top two of Sebastian Reno and Pascal Bida managed to pull out a nice gap of just over 4.5 seconds back to P3. The two of them battling it out for P1. Currently, the gap between the two of them is 0.7. Just on board with Frans van der Linden of Sim Racing Holland. Currently sitting in P5. It's got Aaron Van Drunen behind him for company, and Jonas Planus just ahead. So Timo did manage to get the move made on Jan Planus, and already starting to pull quite a bit of a gap. So just head up to see what is going on with Andy King. Currently sitting quite happy in P3. Has come up onto the back of Mick Shellikens. So already halfway up than the grid. So brilliant recovery drive from Andy here. And am I going to step out onto a limb and say that it's yeah, I'm going to say that he's going to get a podium.
Very brave.
It is very brave. It is very brave.
A bit like some of these moves he's been pulling off to get up this far up.
It has been absolutely brilliant. Really clean, aggressive but clean, and yeah, just really brave. Clearly that he's really comfortable with the setup of that car. Knows exactly what it's capable of doing. As evident here, forcing Mick Shellikens to go wide round the outside of turn 7. And now it's a drag race up then the hill, but I think Andy's going to get it done on the brakes coming into turn 8. So yeah, another position there for Andy King up into P9.
Battle with Franz and John still going on. Try and find somewhere else down the grid to see who else is close. You just read YouTube, haven't you?
I have, yes. YouTube now accusing me of commentator's curse, and it will be my fault if Andy King now DNFs. I really hope that is not the case. I would love to see him on the podium. I think that would be a fantastic result for him, and I think he is fully capable of doing it. But that is all I am now saying on the matter, because I don't want to further. As Alexander Delors finally comes into the pits to fix that damage. I'm quite surprised that he has hung the car out quite that long. I would have expected after an impact like that coming out of the chicane that he would have been into the pits pretty much that lap. The car could not have felt very nice. It's quite possible that he needed to hang the car out in terms of fuel in order to refuel with enough. I'm not too sure off the top of my head what the Lamborghini fuel tank fuel capacity is on board that car, but yeah, and Alexander Delors now into the pits, and unsurprisingly has been sat stationary for a considerable amount of time. So that damage. You see Aaron Van Drunen coming into the pits as well. This is quite early, and the Pascal Vida coming in with him.
Vida's had a crash going to YouTube, so I'm going to go find where that was.
Okay, so bear with us, YouTube. We will find a replay of that for you. So, yeah, interesting when we are having quite a few drivers coming into the pit. We've also got Brandon Routs and Aaron van der Linden in the pits as well. So, you know, as I was saying at the top of the race, if you can, you know, can keep tires in good condition, there's no reason why you can't do a 45-minute race around the Glen on a single set. Because of that, I would have expected most people to do a splash and dash towards the end of the race. So a little surprised to seeing some pit stops coming in early. But if those are to fix damage, then without a doubt they should be able to continue on to the end of the race. We're just coming up to
Vida's crash.
Hour mark left. And well, that was unusual.
He caught the grass at the end of the rumble strip. Sent him into that little spin into the wall.
Yeah, so this looks like it's coming out of turn 6 into the uphill corner of turn 7. So very, very unusual that he's lost that on his own. So yeah. And yeah, 12 positions gained in 5 laps for Andy King. Absolutely stellar drive. Andy King up into P7. So absolutely fantastic. As we're on board with Frans van der Linden, having another look at the inside of Gera's Planis, coming out of turn 6. This battle has been going on for quite a while now. Do seem to be fairly evenly matched. Their lap times are only about 1/10 difference on their best time so far. So yeah, both very, very consistent.
Closest battle we've got on the track as well at the moment.
It is, yeah, and just seeing that Sebastian Reno now up on his own in P1 with 5-second gap to Timo Zidek currently in P2.
I suppose we had that crash and then the pit straight after. So. Obviously gone and repaired it.
He has, yeah, and he's come out, Pascal Bean has come out in P18, so he's going to have a considerable amount of work ahead of him as he's come out behind Aaron van Drunen and Van der Raap, who have also pitted as well, so he's going to have to overtake them on track. So just noticing that we've got a couple of our tier 1 guys in the YouTube chat discussing then the ins and outs of the track, getting some pointers for their race here next week. Definitely getting some first-hand guidance on which curbs you can take and which ones you can't. So it'll be interesting to see who takes that information on board for next week's race.
I'll be impressed if they remember it. I can't remember what happened yesterday. Well, what happened a week ago.
So we're just just on board this battle with Dennis Mino. We've got Steve Parker just ahead, and oh, it's made then the move on Steve Parker now up into P9 with Jesse Van Driel now all over the back of Steve Parker as well. So
our race leader's gone off.
Oh, it looks like he's had a bit of an off at the chicane.
Yeah.
Although considering how far in the lead he was, I'm sure that is all on his own, just probably taking a little bit too much curb.
Oh. Steve Parker there sliding it into the out to the chicane. Nice power slide.
Yeah, nicely controlled, but probably not going to be then the best thing for tyre life if you were hoping to get a set of tyres to last a full 75-minute race.
Some of these cars should be able to do, shouldn't they?
Oh, quite easily, yeah. Notice Cohen Greens has had a very, very good start to the race. Currently up in P7, P2 in the in AM class. So you know, quietly having quite a good start to this race. Because it was Steve Parker who was our P2 AM driver for a while there.
Here's what happens to Sebastian. Honest, something's going to happen. Really is honest.
Yeah, just catches just a tiny bit too much of that first curve, and yeah, just oversteers and side into the inside wall. At least it was nice and flat into the wall on the side, so hopefully damage is going to be at a minimum. But as Ben Mullard has mentioned in the YouTube chat, he is going to now have some very interesting flat spots as, Steve Parker gets nudged coming into the inner loop and ends up getting broadsided by the concrete barriers on the inside of that chicane. I actually didn't know that they were non-destructible, so that's interesting to learn. That yeah, those barriers don't break and don't move, so Steve is probably going to be carrying a considerable amount of damage now, and I'll be surprised to see him come into the pits relatively soon, as we now have Andy King has come up onto the back of Frank Hart battling for P4. My guess is that Frank is probably not going to fight this too hard. It's in his interest to just keep everything just nice and simple, just fighting his own battle. He's currently in P1 in the AM, doesn't want to put that in any jeopardy. But he's obviously not going to gift the position either, so Andy's going to have to get the move done. But I suspect he will get this done coming into the chicane. And yeah, gets it done on the brakes, nice and clean, and easily done. Andy King up into P3 from P19. In the span of 20 minutes.
Here's what happened to Steve Parker for those that missed it, including me. He was assisted.
Yep. Textbook pit maneuver. Any police who are watching in YouTube, that is how to do a pit maneuver, but definitely not something that we want to see on track. There was pretty much nothing that Steve could do, Steve Parker in the pits as we speak, getting that damage repaired.
We have a new race leader.
We do have a new race leader with Frans van der Linden from Sim Racing Holland in the 65 McLaren. And has Router Blisma for company. Just coming. Is that Router in the
car right behind him? Yes.
It is. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have back markers.
No, there was no
battle
oh.
as of yet.
There was no sarcasm there. I'd just like to point out.
So Sebastian Renal has pitted. Interesting to see what his pit stop time was. 32. My guess is that he's not repaired the damage. If then the numbers that I'm looking at are correct. So I think he has just done his pit stop.
That looks a damaged car. Oh,
yes.
That looks nasty.
I think that is going to have to be a return
RTG.
to garage. Yes, it is. Very, very unfortunate. Looks like that. I mean, we came in the aftermath of that, but it looks exact same situation as Steve Parker coming into contact with those concrete barriers that are on the inside of the loop. So, yeah, this is definitely something that I'm going to take away from this race, and anyone in YouTube not as familiar with this track as others, yeah, then those barriers on the inside of the chicane, they are pretty solid.
Got a replay for you. It's a bit of a naughty one, this one. Not sure who that is.
Absolute repeat of what happened with Steve Parker. But yeah, that's not a teammate, is it? No.
No,
okay.
It's not a teammate.
So yeah, try to get the car going, and in difference to Steve Parker, Steve Parker hit those barriers side on. It looked like Router managed to catch the corner, so probably broke the steering as a result of that impact, hence why he wasn't able to make it back to the pits under his own steam. Did the right thing, chose not to continue, not to try and get the car back to the pits. It would have been just all over the place and not really able to control the car. So it really is the sportsman-like thing to do in that situation.
So I think it was Koen Geens that took him out. Car 711.
Yeah, Cohen Gaines in the Aston Martin Curtin sitting in P8. So, yeah, I suspect that our stewards are probably going to have a very, very busy evening going through incident reports. I've just noticed Steve Parker has come out of the pits, but hasn't done his valid pit stop requirement. It's still showing as yellow. That's very unusual.
So he mustn't have set it for refueling.
Yeah,
It's showing
he didn't refuel.
3 laps down as well.
Yeah, I mean he had a considerable amount of damage. But yeah, he is going to be kicking himself in that cockpit when he realizes that he's going to have to pit again, or unfortunately he will get disqualified. So Steve Parker's race, unfortunately, going from bad to worse. Really, really unfortunate to see, but it's an easy mistake to make if you know you've had an incident, you're suddenly flustered, you're not really You can't take the time to look at your pit strategy windows and things like that. You just need to get the car back and hopefully not take anybody else out in the process. Yeah, it's an easy mistake to make. So yeah, poor Steve is going to have to come into the pits again. So unfortunate. So right. How we can take a little bit of a breather from all of that action and update you on how things are progressing. Andy King up into podium spot of P2. Very, very well done for Andy. And Frank Hopp, not only P1 in AM, but a podium position overall, currently sitting quite happily in P3. So excellent drive from both of those drivers. And Steve Reno definitely has some work cut out for him. Currently down in P13.
Are you making names up now?
Beg your pardon?
Are you making first names up now? You just called him Steve.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure Sebastian will be offended by that.
My apologies, Sebastian. I did mean to call you Sebastian and Steve. Yes, Sebastian down in P13 at the minute with some work to do to overtake some cars ahead that have already pitted, but only half the field have completed their pit stops at the minute. So my guess would be Aaron Van Drunen. Gonna have to see if we can find a replay. We came on board with him. It clearly in the wall quite hard at some point, needing to RTG back to the pits.
I like this we thing. We're going to have to find a replay. Oh, are we?
It's the royal we, Chris.
and who better to announce it than the Queen?
At least I've stopped asking you questions.
That's true.
What do you want?
I'm on it.
On it, right. So we are currently sitting with Dennis Meter, via Machine Racing, currently sitting in P5. That was quickly done. Very nice. As just trying to figure out where on track we are at the minute. Oh, just end up getting just a little bit wide. Not too sure where on track we are. I think this is coming out of the S's. And yeah, it just gets a slight tap on one wall that pinballs him into the other side quite hard. Hopefully we will see Aaron back out on track after he gets some damage repaired.
Yeah, it was the S's before the long back straight.
So we are still on board with Dennis Meter. That is McShellikins up ahead. This is in the battlefield for at the minute, as Dennis Meter then decides to come into the pits. And while all of that has been going on, Andy King has managed to reduce the gap to our current leader of Frans van der Linden. That gap now 0.7. And I would suspect that with the speed difference between these two, it'll just be a matter of time. Andy King, his best lap so far is 44.9. Van der Linden's a 145.9, so a good second difference in clean air. So it will all be down to how well Frans van der Linden can defend, but I've got a feeling that it might not take Andy King too long to get this move done. The way he has literally carved his way through the field to recover from that PC crash that he had during qualifying.
This is the closest battle on the track as well, by the looks of it. And I think Aaron's retired, as he's in the YouTube chat now.
Yeah, so saying that he got distracted trying to grab something, so looked away from what he was doing and came into contact. Well, not really something that you definitely want to be doing while you are driving 120 miles an hour.
Unless he was trying to grab the steering wheel.
I would think that he wouldn't have to really look for that. Would be my guess.
You never know.
You do never know, yeah.
King not quite through as quick as I would have thought he would be. Frans doing a crack. Brilliant job here.
He is, yeah. I mean, when we've seen Andy King make some moves from this distance back quite easily. So, yeah, Frans doing an excellent job of defending. And then not really, you know, going out of his way with unusual lines. He's just positioning the car. I'm still showing the Yes, he has. Okay. Yep, we are back. Okay. Excellent. So, everybody will be happy to know that nothing monumental happened during our slight little technical crash. Frans van der Linden has pitted from the lead, putting Andy King up into P1, Jonas Planas in P2. They are the only drivers yet to pit, and we have just over 30 minutes left in this race. So it'll be interesting to see how Andy decides to play this in terms of pit stop strategy. He's got a very, very comfortable lead of over 15 seconds. Just starting to come up into lap traffic now. He's got Peter Bocklund in P11 just ahead of him. But then after he passes Peter Bocklund, he's then got quite amount of clear track ahead of him. So there's nothing really forcing Andy to pit until, you know, literally the dying minutes of the race. Noticing Steve Parker has still not come in to serve that actual mandatory pit stop requirement of taking fuel. So Steve is going to have to come in at some point to fix that. But one thing that I would say for Steve, even though he's probably feeling pretty crappy in that car at the minute, he is still driving. And, you know, I say this every single time that I commentate on a race. It's fantastic to see drivers who just stick with it, even though they're having a crap race and it's, you know, not going to plan, everything's going wrong. There is always something that can happen. There are drivers that have, we've had 3 drivers drop out of the race. Steve is going to finish ahead of those drivers that have dropped out, so he is going to still get points. As we all know, points mean prizes, you know, he's doing what he needs to do to progress up the championship. So this could, it's fantastic to see. I really, really love it, and to me, that is the sign of a great driver who sticks at it and continues to drive for the experience and the fun of it, even though it's, you know, probably not very fun at the minute. Right, so we are just on board with Timo Zedek, who I believe has just overtaken Pascal Guida. Yeah, so Timo up to P12 in the Team Hot Air Balloon Motorsport. Love that. So, interestingly enough, and I do find this quite interesting, despite the fact that Andy King has literally plowed his way through the entire pack, Dennis Meter is still holding fastest lap by just over a 10th. So definitely very, very interesting with how well Andy King has been progressing through the pack. I'm quite surprised that he hasn't managed to take that fastest lap yet. So it looks like he has gotten past Andy Bachman and now has plenty of clean air in front of him. So I think if he is going to go for fastest lap in the race, now is probably the best time for him to get it. He's not battling, doesn't have any traffic to deal with. He's just got a clean, empty track ahead of him, optimum track conditions. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now, or in the next few laps, I would think.
Yeah, I think I'm back fully with you now, Sam, as well. My voice wasn't working. Well, my voice was working, as you could hear me. But it wasn't going out to the land of the YouTube, which probably people were quite relieved at for a short period of time.
Yeah, so definitely glad to have you back with us, and yeah, kind of a couple of people in YouTube speculating that Andy King and probably Jonas Planis are going to be on a splash and dash strategy, considering there's only 27 minutes left in the race, not yet pitted. I would definitely say that that's more than likely what then the plan is. So I would suspect 1 or 2 laps towards the end for them to come in. Very, very wide exit for Router and Vince there. I wouldn't be surprised if that really at least 1 tire on the curve. think that was taking
His lap time is showing in there from what we can see.
but yeah, when yeah, that's that Lexus is looking a little bit of a handful at the minute. Quite a bit of sliding around. This is not going to be very good for his tires. I mean, he has already pitted, so it's quite possible his tires are getting a little ropey. But yeah, and definitely exploring the all of the track width, shall we say?
Yes, using as much of the grey, yellow, red,
and a little bit of the green
and
as
the
well.
green. Yes.
And Alex Delore, currently sitting in P14. It's not a bad position considering he had a bit of a painful start into the race. I believe was one of our first drivers to fall victim to the taking too much curb on the inner loop. Got spat out into the wall, I believe, lap 3. So quite early on. But again, still running, and not last on track either. So I'm sure Alex is going to be considering that a positive. I do believe then this battle between Alexander Delort and Pascal Vida ahead. This is the closest battle that we've got on track at the minute. So feels quite spread out now in the last 25 minutes of this race.
Yeah, very spread out. From before, when we were struggling to keep up with all the action going on.
Yeah, just looking at the track map, we've got a little bit of a it looks closer on map there than it actually is with Rinse. But I think that might actually be a back marker that's behind him.
It's not Panto season yet. For those out in YouTube land don't understand what I'm going about. Famous line out of pantomimes, he's behind you. I can hear the dead silence of laughter. Or lack of.
Yeah. I'm still quite surprised that Andy King, with all of that lovely empty track ahead of him, has not managed to take the fastest lap away from Dennis Newby yet.
I would say perhaps he's pacing himself, but clearly he isn't, is he? His pace is fast. And how close is it? 1:44.927 he's done. Dennis Meader 1:44.877. So there's not much in it. There's only 0.005.
No, but you know, considering the lap times that Andy was putting in qualifying and in practice, I know that's low fuel, but he's got to be getting down to low fuel now. So tires obviously not being optimum. I've just seen Jonas Planus flash up as being yellow.
Yeah, just came on with him as he was recovering. So I'll see if my replays are working.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, considering the gaps and ahead and behind him, that whatever happened was all of his own doing. And he's actually now coming into the pits to serve his mandatory pit stop. So not quite a splash and dash, but probably not going to be taking on very much fuel. I always find the pit lane at Watkins Glen just a little bit weird, because obviously you don't have the traditional pit garages like we're used to on European tracks.
There we go. That's what's happened to Joel.
Yeah, just catching a little bit too much of the end of that curve. It's end of that curve has caught a few drivers out, but lovely little pirouette to recover, and Jonas backed out in P4, I believe, if my timing board has updated correctly, although no, he is dropping down again. P7, I think, is where he's now settled. Alright, so Dennis Meters now come up onto the back of Frank Hawk. This is the battle for P5. Frank yet again having another fantastic race. Clearly in the lead of the AM class by a good 4 position, so really good drive from Frank. Decided not to fight Dennis too much for that position. We are just jumping on board with Owen Jeans, currently sitting in P10 for DBS Racing, has Raptor Prince just ahead of him in Lexus. Mick Shellikens has come up onto the back of Jonas Planis, or Jonas Planis has come out of the pits quite closely in front of Mick. This is the battle for P7 overall, that gap about 0.4. Obviously, Jonas' tyres are going to be still coming up to temperature, still coming up to pressure, so he's going to struggle a little bit to keep that car nicely under control to defend from Mick.
Thought we were going to see a third incident there into the barriers briefly.
No, manages to keep it all together, and keeps ahead of Shellikens heading up the hill into the new section of the track.
Not much happening apart from this small battle.
No, but definitely keeping an eye on Andy King and also Steve Parker, so the entire grid being bookended by 2 drivers yet to complete their mandatory pit stop, with a little over 17 minutes left in the race. They've got plenty of time to do it. They just need to wait for the final lap.
On board with Andy for the lap on this one. It happens. definitely wouldn't it?
Of course, because you've come off them. Right, so heading back into the inner loop chicane. Both running very, very similar lines through there, so it looks like both the Lamborghini and the Ferrari Ableton to handle taking quite a bit of curb through there. Remember, not that long ago that both of these cars were very, very sensitive to taking too much curb. The first time I tried to drive the Ferrari, it tried to kill me on literally every single corner I put it into. But in this new Ferrari, and from what I understand, the new Lambo as well, lot easier to control, lot easier to set up as well. So, and hence why they have become more popular in a lot of championships this season. So we have 5 of each in the championship this season.
Evenly balanced.
Very evenly balanced.
See how we work that out with my head and everything then.
I know.
I'm impressed myself.
And only one lonely McLaren.
It's quite well up.
Looks like Mick made a little bit of a mistake coming through, then the S's has just fallen back a little bit. That gap now 0.7. Also just keeping an eye on the gap between Jonas Planus and Frank Hopp to see whether these two drivers are going to be catching up with the AM driver before the end of the race. That could make things a little bit interesting.
Certainly could. Wouter. You say his surname much better than me.
Bilspa.
We'll go with that.
At least I think that I'm pronouncing it right. I have absolutely no idea. If Wouter does finish the race in P2 and comes in to interview with us, we can confirm whether I've been pronouncing it correctly or have just been completely butchering it. But I'm blindly unaware that I've been butchering it. I think Andy King has gotten this strategy pretty much bang on. Looking at where Andy is on the track versus this battle between Belsma and Van der Linden that we're currently watching. He's got more than half of the track to get his pit stop done, and seeing as he's going to be doing just a simple splash and dash, it's going to be a very, very easy pit stop to come in, do a splash and dash, and come back out still in that first place position. The overall gap hovering around the 60 to 70 second mark, and considering a standard pit stop with tire changes 30 seconds, he's got this pit stop in hand easily. So don't think there's really any need for Andy to leave it to the last minute, but so we're just coming into just over 10 minutes left in this race. Both Andy and Steve Parker still yet to flinch, and
looks like Mick's got the move done on John. Planner's coming back at him.
Yep, so it didn't look like Mick managed to get a run up the S's and down the back straight. Looks like when we came on board that Jonas Planas had forced him to go onto the dirty side of the track to get the move done. But yeah, Lynn looked like he definitely had the speed difference coming up then the hill to get the job done cleanly before the actual chicane. So great move there by Mick Shellikens up into P4. They've managed. Frank Hopp has managed to maintain the gap back to these two. That gap at just over 5 seconds. As we come back on board with Frans van der Linden, putting Rata Bilsma under all kinds of pressure for P2.
Fran's just earning himself a red mark there for a track excursion. Interesting to see at the end of the race how many people were on their final warning. At the moment we've not had any drive-throughs or stop-goes.
No, then this track, I don't really see very many track limit drive-throughs around the races that I've watched around Watkins Glen. I mean, really, there's only 2 places that are common to get track limits warnings here, and that's coming out of then the final corner onto turn 11, and at the chicane. There are certain places of the track that it reminds me of Misano, where we were last round out, where the track limits are positioned does invite drivers to push them as far as they can. Specifically coming out of turn 1, this corner here. Very, very easy to go very wide there. Router, I think
he just got a track limit there
just
for that.
Did just go wide there, so that's possibly been a track limit warning for him, potentially. So yeah, they're definitely doing all he can to keep Frans van der Linden behind in P3, although he does have to be careful he doesn't push it too far, as I'm just noticing Andy King has come in for his mandatory pit stop with 7.5 minutes, and is already on then the move again. So and P2 only just coming out of turn 7 now, so plenty of space to get that that pit stop done and dusted. Although Andy is going to be coming out with a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him. It looks like, according to the track map, that is car 20. So Peter Brocklet is going to have to overtake him yet again. But the last time that Andy lapped Peter, Buckland very quickly got out of the way, so I don't foresee that being any sort of a problem for Andy. And with that pit stop completed, the gap is still 30 seconds.
Oh,
As we're just that is Router Vilsma just going a little bit wide, getting himself onto the grass. And has he lost the position to Dennis as well? I
don't think he's lost it
no,
to Dennis, but
no.
so only one driver's not made his mandatory stop, Mr. Parker. I do hope he does make it.
I'm just thinking that I really hope that he has seen that. I mean, and is I would be extremely surprised if he's not noticed it. It has been it's been over an hour, or around an hour since Steve had his incident at the chicane. He would have noticed that by now. So very much hoping that he comes in and gets that pit stop out of the way, because you're right, it would be a crying shame if he ends up getting a DSQ for
If anybody in the YouTube chat is on our Discord, I think Steve's in one of the voice channels. You might want to just give him a quick nudge.
Yeah,
Might be a bit unfair on everybody else, but he is last at the moment, so I don't think he's not going to
and is 4
gain
laps down.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, would be ashamed to see Steve get in a DSQ. Got a bit of a soft spot for Steve. I've driven with him a couple of times. Really good fun to drive with. And he's been progressing through the championship very well. You know, currently type P5 in the championship. And has been improving pretty much every season that I see Steve out. But we can all breathe a sigh of relief. He has come into the pits and is more than likely going to do a splash and dash with 3.5 minutes left to go. So, just looking down the order. Ooh, Alexander DeLong has come up onto the back of Timo Zidek. This is a very tight battle coming up. Just coming out of the S's onto the back straight. Be interesting to see if Alexander has got enough of a toe. But Timo positioning that car perfectly to prevent Alexander trying to take the inside into the chicane. Oh, Timo just getting a little bit of that curb that's caught on a couple of drivers out. You can see then the car bouncing as it came back onto the track. Thankfully, it's not lost him any momentum. But that has definitely caught a couple of drivers out in the past. But both of these cars are now catching up to Peter Bocklund in P11. So this is very quickly going to become a three-way battle.
I also noticed that Wouter, in your favourite surname, is dropping down the order as well. He's now down in 6th from what was 2nd place.
Hmm. Wondering if maybe his tires have dropped off just a bit too much. You know, I've heard drivers report of tire grip falling off a cliff. You know, just suddenly. Oh, I think Peter Brocklet just decided that he didn't want to have anything to do with that battle between Timo Zidek and Alexander Delort, and decided to just let the two of them go. I've got I have a feeling that Timo wasn't 100% certain what was going on to begin with. Um, uh, Thankfully, figured it out in time to not cause a collision, but it allows the two of them to continue on as Timo just goes a little bit wide, and Alexander Delort just manages to get up then the inside. He is going to have the inside for the next corner. It depends on whether he's brave enough on the brakes. Still side by side as before I realized it, 7 seconds left in the race, and the time is going to click over before Andy King crosses the finish line. So this is the end of the race.
And once again, we're focused on a battle rather than the leader.
Oh, we have, yes.
We don't have much choice with this.
But yeah, Timo Zidek just managing to hang on to that P11 position as they come across the lines. We jump on board with Frans van der Linden, who's going to come in to take second. While we were watching that battle with Timo and Alexander, I did notice that Wouter Bilsma came into the pits again. So I'm wondering if maybe he ran out of fuel. That would be my guess as to why he suddenly started dropping down the order.
Could very well be. Frank Hopp finishing first in the AM as well. And I'm catching everybody as they're coming off track. There we go. I found one that isn't.
He's already finished.
Yes, he has.
Alexander Delort deciding to do a full in-lap. Cohen Green's coming in for P2 in the AM class, and Wouter Vince coming in for P3. Wouter Bilsma, who we believe had to pit for a little bit of fuel, is the last to cross the line. So a fantastic comeback drive for Andy King. I am so glad that he managed to not succumb to commentators' curse, and not only finished on the podium, but took the top step as well. So a fantastic drive there from Andy King, and hopefully we will get Andy in the commentary box for interviews shortly. People have been too quick to leave the server before I had a chance to note who finished in second and third.
Frans van der Linden second.
Present, thank you.
And I think it was Dennis Meader in third, but I could be wrong myself. Yeah, Dennis Meader third, Sebastian Reynaud fourth.
Perfect. Right. So hopefully
Do you want the AMs?
Yep, AMs.
Frank Hopp.
Frank Hopp.
Cohen Gaines. Wouter Vince.
Okay. Hopefully we will get some of those drivers into the comms box for some interviews. And oh, and everybody deciding to join different waiting rooms. That always makes things fun. Right, so we've got Frank Hopp and Franz van der Linden. We shall bring them in together and start there. Franz van der Linden, let's start with you. Good evening. How was your
Good
race
evening.
tonight?
As you can see, it was not too bad. I had a lot of luck because the more fast guys just made an error or cross into somebody else. So that's my benefit for tonight. But this is one of my favorite tracks, so I can't complain. And before I start, I said I hope for a top 10, but yeah, this is more than expected.
Perfect. And a lot of drivers say that they love this track. What is it about Watkins Glen that you enjoy driving so much?
Beside of the chicane, it's the flow in it. If you have a good setup and yeah, it's the flow. It has everything, but the chicane can be a pain in the peep. And yeah, but I had no problem tonight over there. I take it in the third gear. Normally, if you want to go for a fast lap, you take it in the fourth. But I take it in the third in the race, so then you'll have a more stable car. That's why I take it in third, and no errors tonight, so very happy.
Good. So with Silverstone coming up in 2 weeks' time for our penultimate round of this season, is Silverstone a track that you enjoy driving as well?
Depends on the weather. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's also a track if you are into the flow. It's a nice track also. But yeah, like I said, if the other guys don't make errors or escape the game, then yeah, then I'm nowhere over there again. I'm a mid racer, so I'm always happy to be in the top 10. If I don't make any errors, it's possible. But this is a gift for me tonight.
Right. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. Lovely to hear that you've had such a great race this evening. We look forward to seeing you out at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, cheers. See you around.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
then.
Bye bye.
And Frank Hopp,
Yeah.
our P1 in AM. How was the drive for you this evening?
Well, to be honest, it was almost boring, but it was okay. I had a really, I wasn't quite happy with my quali. I think I could have gone a bit faster. But then, yeah, like Frans said, it was just a bit of a bowling alley sometimes where people just dropped off in front. So yeah, made up quite a bit of places. And just was trying to make sure I didn't make any mistakes, didn't try to fight any silver guy, just let them through. Just making sure, because otherwise I always make mistakes anyway, or get punted or whatever, or I punt someone. So yeah, just made sure that I had a safe race this time instead of the last race. That was quite horrible. Because, yeah, and then I just had good pace. I felt comfortable. Yeah. Overall really nice. I had a good setup, did some longer runs as well to make sure that it would be quite okay at the end of the stint as well. And yeah, it helped out. So yeah, quite happy. Was running third at one point where I was going like, what the hell is that? But then after the pit stop, yeah, okay. Then I felt more I was supposed to be. So yeah, all in all, good fun.
So when was your strategy to not take tires?
Yeah, I did take tires.
Oh, you did take tires?
Yeah. No, because I tried some longer runs without taking tires, and my pace was like almost a second off on the higher fuel load per lap. Plus, yeah, you could make it, but it's like you had like 1.4 or so on the rear tires, and then 1.5 is that they're done, I think. So I wasn't quite sure if yeah, that was too big a risk. Besides, I don't really like driving the car that way. So I really was, okay, I want to have fun as well, because as Frans, I really like the flow of the track. It's a good track to drive, and yeah, just to have some fun, I wanted to have a car that at least felt a bit alive and you could play around a bit with. But then in this case, because I was expecting to crash more or less or spin out at one point, I took it a bit easier and yeah, stayed within my limits this time, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've had, a pretty consistent season, aside from
Yeah.
the outing at Misano. So
And the
coming
one
in,
before that as well. I think the one before wasn't good as well. In Kyalami, I think I had really bad pace overall. And in Misano, I actually had really good pace. I think my quali was half a second up till the next AM. And then I just bottled it in the first lap. So, yeah.
but I mean, then despite then those two blips, coming into this race, you were tied for first in the AM class. So
Oh, yeah.
coming into Silverstone with the penultimate round, are you starting to keep an eye on the championship and where your championship contenders are around you in the race, or is it just something that you're not worrying about, just driving your own
No,
race?
I'm just trying to drive. Like I said, I make quite a. I've been known the last couple of years anyway, at least also for myself, to make quite a bit of mistakes, spin out, and this year I was more going like, okay, let's try not to do it this year. So I make that a learning, and then overall, I think I said it before. I really like the 1.9 update. I feel more connected to the car, so it feels better. I found some ways to set it up that I don't spin out as much. So yeah, quite happy. So not really looking to any other guys. Wish them all well, and if they beat me, they beat me. I'm my own worst enemy, I always say. So.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic to see, and I've followed you as a driver for a couple of seasons now, so it's really great to see how much you're improving season after season. So keep it up, and
Okay, thank you.
look forward to seeing it at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time.
So, yeah, I was hoping to talk to Oliver about the Afghan-US situation, but yeah, sorry, he isn't there. So Oliver,
Yeah.
next time.
Next time.
Thanks a lot anyway again for the whole presentation of the race. It's always good fun.
Well, it wasn't quite a
Great.
whole presentation, but we won't go there.
No, unfortunately, not tonight.
Yeah, I'm noticing now in the chat. So yeah.
Yeah, we had obs fall over a little bit, but
Okay.
we got it back. That's the main thing.
Okay, then it's good. Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Frank.
All right, thanks, Frank.
Bye bye.
So unfortunately, we haven't had any of our we haven't had Andy come in for an interview. I was really keen to have a chat to see how that panned out for him, but yeah, it looks like that is our interviews for this evening. So broadcasts and events that are coming up. So obviously we have our Tier 1 race around Watkins Glen coming up next week on November the 7th. Then we have a race room competition on the 9th at TT Circuit Austin. And then is our big event for the year, 24-hour of Kyalami charity race on November 11th. So that is not this Saturday, but next Saturday coming. So we currently have 28 teams signed up for the event. Our charity auction has already raised just over £1,600. There are some fantastic prizes that are available in that auction. And some, really great kit. We've got a SimuCube Pro wheelbase. We've got a online voucher to spend at Simline EU's racing store. We've got a SimLab load cell pedal set, and a 45-minute go in a full motion D-Box sim rig as well. So be sure to jump onto the website to see all of the auctions and put in your bids. And be sure to join us on the 11th, where we will be streaming the entire 24-hour race in support of the Christie charity. There will be guest commentators throughout the stream, and a live giving link for you to be able to donate throughout the event. So, Chris, I don't know about you, but Kyalami is just such an amazing track. It's one of my favorites in the entire ACC game. 24 hours around there, though, that is going to be challenging. It's going to be really, really good fun to watch. So I'm really, really looking forward to that.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah, I like Kyalami. It seemed like a good track to pick for a 24-hour race when we decided to do it earlier in the year. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, 24 hours of keeping concentration over Cheetah. That's going to be a big ask for our 28 teams. So, and it could be an interesting challenge all on its own to see how many teams Cheetah bites.
I like what you did there, Sam. I like what you did there.
Yeah. They didn't take a whole lot of thought. And then finally, we have our Tier 2 race at Silverstone for penultimate round of the GT3 Championship in 2 weeks' time here on November the 14th. So, that is everything for this evening. Thank you very much, everyone in YouTube, for sticking with us. Do apologize for the technical glitches, but they do happen. At least we managed to get back and bring you the rest of the race. I have been Sam Pearce. In the box with me has been Chris Hill. Thank you very much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon so that you get notified of all of our live streams and uploads here on SSRI. So thank you very much for joining us, and have a fantastic evening.
Thank you, guys.